As of tonight, the official number of new coronavirus cases in China stands at 30,000. And again, that's the official number. We expect the real number is much higher. Now, cruise ships are emerging as a deadly vector for the disease. At least 8 Americans are among 61 people who've tested positive for coronavirus on board a Princess cruise ship currently quarantined outside Tokyo, Japan. In response to the threat, Royal Caribbean has banned anyone with a passport from China, Hong Kong, or Macau, the world's gambling capital, from its ships, along with anyone who's visited China in the past 2 weeks. Dr. Mark Siegel is a Fox Medical contributor who has been on the story and following it very closely since the first day he joins us tonight. Doctor, where are we in the spread of coronavirus tonight?
Well, as you said, in China itself, we have almost all of the 31,000 cases, and we have over 600 deaths. But we're starting to turn our focus to ships tonight, to if you're on a cruise ship, how safe are you? Can you travel on a cruise ship? And the question couldn't be more different than the 2 cruise ships you mentioned. The Diamond Princess that's docked outside of Japan, where people can't get off, where we've seen some Americans on the ship saying, I can't get off, I'm quarantined for at least 2 weeks because there's been 61 cases positive for coronavirus. They try to get them off the ship as fast as possible once they've been diagnosed. But of course, people are still re-exposed. And in ship's quarters, Tucker, you're living very closely together, and you can get coughed and sneezed on, and it's common surfaces, very, very hard to disinfect. So that's that situation, and that situation isn't over by a long shot because we don't know how the people will do who are brought to the hospital, and we don't know how the remaining people will do. How contagious is this virus? Looks like it's pretty contagious. Over here in the United States, we've been paying attention to a Royal Caribbean ship, Anthem of the Seas, that's been docked in New Jersey, and 4 people were taken off of this ship and brought to a Newark hospital. 1 tested positive for the flu. All the others have been negative for coronavirus. There were 27 people that had been traveling from China on the ship. The other 23 are being returned to China. I want to make a point here, Tucker. These people from China were not in the Wuhan area. They were not in the epicenter. And so the chances of anyone on the ship here getting coronavirus from this ship is extremely low. But we can't be sure we're getting the entire truth of information from the Chinese government. That's the problem.
Anyone who's been to Yellowstone recently can tell you there are an awful lot of Chinese tourists in this country, and that suddenly is a concern. Dr. Siegel, thank you.
Thank you,
Of course,
Tucker.
we'll be talking to you soon about this. A deadly flu virus is not the only way China is endangering American lives. China also exports billions of dollars in counterfeit products, some of which are sold on sites like Amazon. Some of these products are harmless, like fake handbags, fine. Others are far more serious and get less attention. They include fake medication, drugs, and airbag parts. Peter Navarro is director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy. He joins us tonight. Peter Navarro, thanks so much for coming on. This is a topic that you've been working on for a while and intensely. Most of our viewers, this includes me, don't know anything about this. So give us a sense of the scope of this, the scale of it, and tell us what precisely is being imported into this country that we should be worried about.
Well, I have been working on it a long time. This goes back to June of 2016 when candidate Donald J. Trump promised to crack down on Chinese intellectual property theft, and counterfeiting is really the purest expression of that, Tucker. So what I've been doing while Ambassador Lighthizer was negotiating the deal is figuring out a way to track that. So working with Customs and Border Protection, we've been running this Operation Megaflex, where once a month we look under the hood of thousands of extra Chinese packages. And I'm telling you, the results are startling. What we have essentially is a hit rate of over 10%. So that means of the million packages a day that come in from China, 100,000 or more have contraband. About half of that is the kind of counterfeit things you were mentioning. But also you have controlled substances like fentanyl. You have weird things like gun silencers, fake driver's licenses. This is an epidemic of counterfeits. A lot of this, Tucker, is facilitated by e-commerce platforms like Amazon and Alibaba. So what we've been doing, Tucker, is going really full on this. DHS came out with a report 2 weeks ago with an action plan to crack down with things like penalties, fines, suspension, debarment, best practices for these e-commerce platforms with teeth if they don't adopt them. And then just last week in the Oval, the President signed an executive order which will allow us to progressively control the flow of this stuff from things like China Post from China. But Tucker, this is 2020 is the year we got to stop this because it's hurting Americans.
Let me just ask one question. So some of these products are legitimately dangerous. Defective car seats,
exploding batteries, child car seats,
pork, exactly.
Yeah.
So Amazon, just to name one, Alibaba another, why aren't they policing this stuff already?
The problem in the system is that all the burden falls on the government to inspect and the intellectual property rights holders to basically find the stuff on Amazon and report it. Amazon, unlike bricks and mortar retailers, gets to skate scot-free because the laws as they are constructed don't put much liability on them. That's what we're trying to change with this. And we're going to change it. We're coming hard. They're either going to play ball and fix this themselves or we're going to do it for them. But either way, the American public is being harmed by this. And the president is really adamant that this has got to stop. And you know when the president's adamant, it's going to stop.
Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. Huh. Tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Peter Navarro, thank you so much for this, and I hope you'll come back. Interesting.
Take care, Tucker. My pleasure.